for that. Hi, as I said before, I've been away for a while, and while I was away, I've re-remembered the importance of having a community around you. For those of you that don't know, I went to Scotland with my family to meet and visit other family, which meant that I did have a community of people around me. Some people that I knew quite well, some people that I looked like and didn't know at all, and then some people that I met along the way. And we had a truly phenomenal time. For those of you that will ask, yes, it was cold, but it was warmer there than it was here on Christmas Day. It just is the fact. It was weird, but it was great. But there is something about having a chosen and a found community around you that lifts you up and supports you. And it's something that we all desperately need. And when I was reading through the verses for this week, I was so encouraged and surprised to find that they were talking exactly about what I wanted to be talking about. And I love that God works in such a way. We had the verse from 1 Samuel, where Samuel hears the voice of God and doesn't recognize that it's the voice of God, and his community, being Eli, points out to him that that's what he's hearing, something that he was missing without that word from people around him. We then have the reminder from Corinthians that while everything could be good for us, it's not always necessarily, and sometimes we need the people around us to remind us of that. And then finally in John, we had Jesus coming up to his disciples and be like, hey, come with me, come experience this with me. And he does that up until the Garden of Gethsemane. He does that up until death, inviting people alongside him. So, the communities that we have help guide us and grow us and shape us. They provide connection and belonging. They point out things to us that we miss. And I would say that I'm better for having my community around me. All of you guys that point out things and go, hey, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. It guides and grows. The other phenomenal thing about community that I found that I was really missing while I was away, although I had my family with me, was being able to share in the joys and frustrations of life with the people that I call friends. I'm sure it's something that you all can relate to. It's wonderful to get phenomenal news, and you always have that one person in your mind that you go, oh my goodness, I want to share that with them. I've just found out that for me, it's like, I got into a uni course. I'm going to tell my friends because they're going to celebrate and rejoice with me. It's not happened to me yet, but I know it's happened to people around me. My sibling is having a child. Let me share this wonderful news with the people that I care about. It also happens in the bad times. I have a friend at the moment who is stuck in Melbourne because they ruptured their eardrum and cannot fly home. And so they will be driving home. And one of the first things that they did upon finding this was reach out to their community for support. Be like, hey, this is what's happened, and I just kind of need to talk about it. It's something so valuable, yet so often missed until we are living without it. And God is persistent in this, through reminding us that we need a community. He calls out to Samuel to tell him some important information, and Samuel completely misses it because he's so focused on thinking that it's something that he is comprehending. He's like, yes, no, absolutely. Eli must be calling me. I'm going to go see what that is. And we miss it. Samuel misses it. And then God persists and he tries again and he goes, hey. And Samuel goes, yeah? And Eli goes, no, I don't think that's quite right. There are so many things in our lives, whether we realize it or not, that God is persistently following us, and our community around us kind of draws us back to it. Even if they're not being like, hey, I think that's God. They encourage us to do things that we wouldn't do on our own. They encourage us to follow and seek and believe in ourselves and trust the next point, the next path, because of the support that we have in our community and in God. While I was away, me and my family went on this wonderful hike. If you've ever been to Scotland or seen a picture of Scotland, there are some gorgeous pieces of scenery. We are 2 weeks into our trip. It's rather cold. It was the coldest day that we had. I saw rain 3 times. One of them was on this day, which was a little inconvenient because we were in the middle of a field and there was nowhere to hide from it. We were going through this gorgeous walk through a valley, hills, mountains, a little bit of snow on the top of those, stunning. And we get to this field and it starts raining. And then it starts hailing. And the only reason that we realized this was because we, cold, shivering, trying to keep ourselves warm, looking at the person's back in front of us, can see the hailstones bouncing off. In that situation, it's really easy to be miserable. It's really easy to be like, I'm cold, I'm in the middle of nowhere, I have to walk 45 minutes back to the car, I think I have frostbite in my fingers, and my socks are wet. And that really sucks. But I had my siblings with me, and for whatever reason, this was one of the highlights of our trip. We were laughing, we were giggling, we were running through the hail, because at least we were in it together. While on this trip, on that specific walk, we're trying to get to this waterfall. And we keep walking past little streams and being like, that's the waterfall we're getting to. It was not. We get to this field and we finally see this waterfall. Probably the width of those windows there, rather large. And we're like, that's the waterfall, we found it. How to get to it. What I need you to do is picture a stream that is, I know you can't see me on the camera, but the width of, from me to that wall-ish. Rather deep, and rushing, and cold. And we're like, that's how we get to the waterfall, right? Very cool. Where is the bridge? We look to our right, and we kind of see this haze through the hail. It is 3 wires. I don't know if you've ever seen a 3-wire bridge. There's one for your feet and one for each arm so that you can't tip off either side. Need I remind you it's hailing and we can't feel our fingers. Us 3 siblings see our mum and dad in the distance and we go, we should probably wait for them, so that they can tell us that crossing this is a terrible idea. We're relying on our community to give us some insight, to tell us that this is something you could do, but it might be bad for you. My parents are wonderful and do not discourage us from life experiences, so they didn't do that. And so my sister gets up on the bridge, goes, not for me, and jumps off onto the bank of this river. My brother did this as well, and I looked at that and went, I've come so close to the waterfall, I want to do it. So I'm going, regardless if anyone's coming with me or not. And I get about halfway and I feel the bridge move behind me and I go, what's that? And it's my brother, following me, supporting me, without me needing to ask for it. It's him going, well, Lauren's gone out to do this alone. I'm going to go with her. It might be fun, but I want to make sure that she's safe. We then slodged through a marsh to get to this waterfall, having a phenomenal time. We almost lost a shoe, but we didn't. And we get there. And at this point, remember that the mindset is, we've come this far, we may as well keep going. Potentially dangerous. And we get to the waterfall, and there's this massive rock in the middle, and we're like, that's a really cool photo opportunity. Don't know if you're into the Facebook, Instagram thing, but sometimes that can be a dangerous mindset. And so we see this rock covered in algae, and we're like, yeah, we can do that. We did, but we shouldn't have. And we get up onto this rock, pushing each other up, making sure that we're supported and not falling into danger, and we did it. And that feeling of joy was a feeling shared, something that you had to be there to experience. Well, I've tried to illustrate it with my words. It's not quite the same. To get down from this rock, my brother very wisely points out, hey, maybe the steep way we got up, not the best option to get down. There's a much easier way at the back, something that I had completely missed because I hadn't gone that close to the edge. we would have been fine, but our community points out to us better ways of doing things, things that we could have done on our own, things that we would have been probably fine doing, but a better and easier and more helpful way of doing them. Something that we don't often see on our own. Jesus knows this. He, God, came to earth and knew the importance of community. He went looking for it. When it came close to his death, that's what he leant on. Yes, he could do it alone, and he did do it. He died for us. But in that time of grief, of knowing that he was going to die to save all of us, he turned to his community around him and went, hey, this is what's going to happen, and I want you with me. He wanted to be able to share that with the people that he knew would support him. And that's what we should be doing. We should be following in those footsteps. And it's something we do pretty well, is to be like, I want my friends with me. And so, as we head out into this week, something that I know that I have been doing a lot since I got back, and something I encourage you to do, is to reach out to your community around you, even if it's just, hey, how are you doing? What has God done in your week this week? And seek after that, so that we can continue to support each other and grow together and point out to each other the things that we might miss and the awesome moments of God in our life. All right. We are going to get into our next song. During this, your free will offering will be collected if you decide to give one.